Okay, this is for 4th grade and a simple solutions test on Thursday, February 21st. And I'm going to start with this one. This was one where they had shapes, and what I told them was they wanted to just give one part. It was a pattern, and it was triangles. I went ahead and told them that they needed to describe both parts of the pattern. They either told me that it was colored and not, or that it was just triangles. I told them to make sure that whenever they're describing a pattern, to give everything that they know. On this one, you're converting between inches and feet. So whenever I was telling them, just make sure that we know that there's 12 inches in a foot. So what we say is we set it up as 60 inches equals how many feet? And then we say 12 inches equals 1 foot. And then we say same side you divide, when across you multiply. And that's meaning that the numbers, if they're on the same side, you would divide. If the 12 had been on this side, the numbers would have been across, so we would have multiplied. But since they were on the same side, we divided. Of course, you can switch those numbers with any type of inches and give them any type of scenario there. This is one that I think that will give them a little trouble. What they are doing in this one is a conversion. So they were given 4.5 liters, and they wanted to know, and then they were also given 3,503 milliliters. They wanted to know how many milliliters were left. So it's a conversion between liters and milliliters. What we talked about was that there were 1,000 milliliters that equaled 1 liter, which also meant that 1/2 of a liter would be 500 milliliters. So the conversion goes with 4,500 milliliters, and then they would subtract, meaning that the important word was left, giving them to subtract. Go ahead, substitute any different type of numbers in there so that they can practice converting. We have a matrix problem here. Remember that whenever you're practicing this with your child, that you do the expanded form. This one was 23 times 46. That's going to be the 20 and the 40 going into the first box, the 3 and the 40 going into this box, 3 times 6 going into the far right, and 20 times 6 going into this box. You would add going straight across, multiply going straight, add going straight across as well, add coming down, add coming down, add coming down, and it should all work out the same whenever you're adding all those boxes. This one, what I told them is to always check their work. They're asking 5,000 equals how many hundreds? Just to check and make sure that once they multiply that their answer does work. 50 times 100 equals the answer that was given. So make sure that they're checking that to make sure that that equals it. The one that they have here was a symmetry problem. I asked them to write the definition. A line of symmetry equals a line that divides a shape into 2 equal pieces. They're just practicing showing the shapes that are equal, or that have the line of symmetry. This one was one that did not. A division problem here. This question, number 10, was where they had to pick out a shape that was parallel. I also asked them to write the definition for perpendicular, because if they know parallel, they should also know perpendicular. And I had them write the definition as well. Going on to the next 2 lessons, which as of today, they do not have that, but I thought you might want to go ahead and start studying. So number 10 is another question that has to deal with the distributive property like we had the last time that they had a test. We didn't have one last week, but the week before. So this one is a distributive property where they're picking it out, the difference between them, just looking very carefully that they have the place values correct. This one was one where they had to pick out, I think the factors. They had to pick out the factors of 30. that were listed, or maybe this one, I'm sorry, this one was the one, what numbers would be multiples of 30. 3 would be you would hear the multiple 30. So 3, if you counted by 3s, you would hear 30. If you counted by 6s, you would hear the multiple of 30. 10, you would hear it, and 15, you would hear it. And then on the last page, factors, just practicing listing the factors of a number. Factors and multiples do kind of trip them up a little bit. Factors are where you multiply two numbers together to get get a product. Multiples are where you skip count. On number 3, just simple rounding. We still have problems with that. Once again, the number that is underlined is the place value that we're rounding to. The digit that is dotted is the number that's doing the work. So we're rounding to the 100,000th place. The 3 is the one that's going to do the rounding, and the 3 is not large enough to round the 1, so it would be 100,000. Number 12. It asked about perpendicular lines, which we talked about on that other question before, perpendicular lines that form right angles. Okay, so number 15, this is a tricky one. And what I asked them to do, which this line is not resting on what I call the baseline, so it's up a little bit. So what I tell them to do is I tell them to pick either side. I usually start on the left, just because I read from left to right, but I would start right here and I would follow what I call the number line on the outside, and I'm going to try to zoom that in for you. Okay, so what we have here, see, if you can see that there's two number lines. There's the 0 on top and the 180 on bottom. If you look on the other side, it's reversed because the 0 starts here. If you were to follow that 180 all the way around, it would end right here. The 180 ends, the 0 starts here and ends at 180. The 0 starts here and ends over here at 180. So basically what we have are two number lines. So what I tell them to do is pick one. And what we would do is we stay on that one number line that they pick. So since we start on 0 on this side, we follow that number line and we write the measurement of this line that intersects with that number line, which is 10 degrees. Continue on that number line, which is on top, and then write the measurement of where it intersects with this other ray, and that's 90. So the measurements of each one of those rays that intersect with that top number line are 90 and 10. Then we would take that measurement, 90 and 10, and subtract. And the measurement of this inside angle is 80 degrees. If you were to have started over here on this side with the 0 degrees, so you would follow it up. The measurement, once again, was 90. Continued over, it would have been 170. If you subtracted those two measurements, once again, you would have gotten 80. The key is staying on that one number line. You can't drop down and pick the other number line. Once you've started on one, you have to stay on the other. And that's important that they tend to drop down and pick the other one. I hope this helps. And once again, if you have any questions, be sure and let me know. Thank you.